Why does cancel culture exist? Well, according to the core rules of etiquette by Virginia Sheen, that people cannot simply post anything negative online or have negative remarks or disputes, flame wars as people call it. That's why they get called out, to remember the human, that their violators and the offenders should be held accountable for their actions, for their statements, in order to raise awareness and speak out for the people out there who are also experiencing the same thing, just like Black Lives Matter, just like #MeToo movement. Good day, everyone. I am Gwen Vasayllaje from Universityy and I'm here to present my term paper entitled The Essence of Call-Out Culture. To begin with, the evolution of technology has led us to another world, the cyber world, that is the internet. Being a scientific innovation itself, the internet has made things relatively easier for mankind. Work, research, e-commerce, gaming, communication, and even online learning, what we're doing right now. But most importantly, the dissemination of information. Social media interaction is one of the channels of dissemination. It is basically a freedom wall for all cultures to interact with one another. There is a set of rules specifically observed online, apart from the code people follow in real life. That's called netiquette, which is basically putting together the two words internet and etiquette. This is built on the principle that one should remember the human, that on the other side of the screen is another human being, rational, emotional, and free. As we all know, social media is known for its strengths, and one of them appears to elevate over time, called the call-out culture or the cancel culture. Now in this paper, we will look into the nature and purpose of its existence. What does it do, and why is it there? Afterwards, we'll look into its ethical implications and its impact on the human being. Does it pronounce ethical judgment, and does it encourage people to be ethical? This paper seeks to discover the nature and purpose of call-out culture and its ethical implications in terms of judgment. Before I proceeded with the research itself, I made an educational guess that there is an ethical nature and purpose behind call-out or cancel culture, yet the trend appears to induce unethical judgment and negative social effects. This paper is evaluative in approach as it seeks to evaluate cancel culture online in terms of ethical standards. It is also phenomenological, which aims to understand and interpret the nature of the cancel culture phenomena. Lastly, it is qualitative, which seeks to describe and explain the phenomena in a textual context. To collect data, related literature is reviewed and organized in addition to observation of users in social media. Now the first thing to discuss about, what does call-out culture do? Call-out or cancel culture is initially a way to call out misconduct. Perhaps you have seen a viral video online or a post on social media that is there to raise awareness or speak out about an issue or experience that the person has gone through. These are usually violations or offense, like sexual harassment, racism, and other forms of discrimination. And in this way, call-out culture allows figures to learn from their shortcomings. For example, Band-Aid brand has posted something on Instagram. We hear you, we see you, we're listening to you. We are committed to launching a range of bandages in light, medium, and deep shades of brown and black skin tones that embrace the beauty of diverse skin. This happened in response to the controversy #BlackLivesMatter, and similar efforts were also made by other figures, not just Band-Aid, in an effort to support the movement Black Lives Matter after the controversy of George Floyd uproar. It was a protest about racism, white superiority, and cop abuse in America, but this also called upon the attention of all other parts of the world. In this sense, call-out culture is considered a form of activism. Another example is the #MeToo movement, which existed to call out sexual offenders. Women online, of every race, of every color, of every background, of every cultural diversity, they were out there posting on social media saying #MeToo just to raise awareness in an attempt to let the people see the magnitude of the sexual harassment, the sexual violence, and the sexual offense, any form of it, going on, and that many women have already experienced, no matter how young or how old, no matter what clothes they also wore. The movement's #MeToo and survival's agenda existed so that women can build each other up, encourage one another, speak out to raise awareness with the hopes of driving change. On the other hand, call-out culture is deemed toxic because of disputes that do not clearly resolve. Disputes and debates only proceed from controversy to controversy. Because of the cultural differences and diverse narratives, different opinions are just being bursted out online, but in the end, they do not make a clear resolution. There really was no response that ended the controversy. It was just another controversy, the next trend, the next viral video, the next viral post. Actor John Boyega spoke about his experience with racism and called out Disney amid the protest of Star Wars fans about casting a black person. In an interview with Famorella, he says in his own words, "But what I would say to Disney is do not bring out a black character, market them to be much more important in a franchise than they are, and then have them pushed to the side." He adds, "I'm the only cast member who had their unique experience of that franchise based on their race. Nobody else in the cast had people saying they were going to boycott the movie because they were in it. Nobody else had the uproar and death threats sent to their Instagram DMs and social media saying black this and black that you shouldn't be a stormtrooper." No reports or evidence show Disney's response until now. And that was also an example of call-out culture publicly shaming figures. You know, the reason John Boyega ever spoke out about this was because he experienced being cancelled in the first place. People protested against Disney, against the Star Wars franchise, asking why they have to cast a black character. Additionally, call-out culture is considered a form of cyberbullying. Perhaps you have heard about Pinoy Glamour being viral online. It was because of his remark of belittling tricycle drivers. Since then, he has become popular, not because he had a lot of supporters, but because he had a lot of bashers. And just publicly shaming him. There was even this post that promoted to block him in every social media platform, believing he will remain that character of belittling anyone at all. Sending or posting any negative, false, or mean comments or anything at all that causes embarrassment or humiliation of a figure is considered a form of cyberbullying. That is according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. In the Philippines, however, there is a Republic Act for defining such acts of cyberbullying, and that includes any act that can cause emotional, mental, or psychological damage to a person. Name-calling, using profane language, shaming, any negative comment on the victim's body or preferences or clothes, and basically bullying that is done through the internet. In addition, cyberbullying has been proven to lead to psychological, emotional, and mental health problems, such as post-traumatic growth, which hinders a person from overcoming a problem, from overcoming stress, and it's only going to make it harder for them to grow. Now you may ask, why is it even there? Why does cancel culture exist? Well, according to the core rules of netiquette by Virginia Sheen, that people cannot simply post anything negative online or have negative remarks or disputes, flame wars as people call it. That's why they get called out, to remember the human, that they're violators and the offenders should be held accountable for their actions, for their statements, in order to raise awareness and speak out for the people out there who are also experiencing the same thing, just like Black Lives Matter, just like #MeToo movement. Another significance of call-out culture or cancel culture is to institute social justice. According to Goldberg of Prager University, social justice means people decide, or the champions decide, what is ethical, what is good, what is right. So call-out culture intends to drive people to follow the social norm. Now, talking about justice, I found two different views that could apply to cancel culture. One is from the view of Jeremy Bentham, a proponent of utilitarianism, and the other is from Immanuel Kant, a proponent of deontology. Now, Bentham says that having a good life or a happy life means maximizing the balance between pleasure and pain, while Kant says that there is a universal duty to respect human dignity. We have established that cancel culture is there to hold people accountable and to drive people to follow the social norm. Now, let's say a group of marginalized people call out to spread awareness of their situation, to spread awareness of any form of discrimination that they have experienced. They are exercising to call for the duty of people to respect their own rights. Following the Kantian view, they are doing that to point out that their rights must be respected as well. However, looking at Bentham's view, if people only look for pleasure over pain, looking for something that would please them, looking for something that would satisfy their taste, their preference, well, online, they are bound to be offended. There is a huge pool of differences when you're online, when you're on social media, and the person cannot impose that everything you see on social media must be to your liking, must be to your satisfaction, must be to please you. Now, if you're going to call someone out because you have been offended, because the post, the action, or the statement incurs displeasure or some sort of pain in you, that does not justify it. Because calling somebody out is to hold them accountable for misconduct, for objectionable behavior. Professor Sandel of Harvard University says that social justice should be to maximize welfare, respect freedom, and promote virtue. Justice, as we learned, is also being fair, giving people their due according to what is legal. Call-outs call for change because they have experienced social injustice, because they have experienced offense. Now, what kind of offense should it fall under? A personal offense or displeasure? Or a violation of someone's right? What is unethical is anything that hinders you from having a good and right life. Ethical judgment should consider the person involved. And it's even more challenging when it's online because you don't really know these people. You don't really see them face to face. But you have to know what might offend them, what might be a gesture of misconduct against them, what might be a questionable symbol against them. Call-outs should call for ethical change. In conclusion, cancel culture exists online to hold others accountable for objectionable behavior. Cancel culture is also a form of activism that encourages free expression and brings about change. However, cancel culture does not enforce justice, which seeks truth and resolution. It induces unethical conflict that remains unresolved, stifling social growth, and it begets cyberbullying and psychological health problems. The recommendations include to observe netiquette by being accountable, recognizing the cultural diversity online, to exercise social responsibility through purposeful discussions to raise awareness and drive progressive change. Ethical judgment, which requires critical evaluation of moral and cultural standards while respecting human dignity, and encourage the pursuit of truth and resolution for disputes. Now, going back to my hypotheses, is there an ethical nature and purpose of call-out culture? Yes. Because calling for change whenever misconducts occur promotes growth personally and socially, and ethical judgment should entail being held accountable for the actions and the statements that we make. But there are also cases in which cancel culture does not bring about change. Instead, it just widens the gap between cultures, creating more conflict and misunderstanding. This can be prevented when people learn to be ethical in decision-making and in pronouncing judgment. Interestingly, during this pandemic, cancel culture begins to heighten. It just happened that people are becoming more active on social media, becoming more active in speaking up. And you may have seen or encountered people being cancelled or called out. You may see them on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, even on TikTok. And really, this phenomenon just reminds us to to be mindful of the posts that we make on social media, and basically the old phrase, to think before you click, or to reflect before you deflect. Once again, I am Gwen Vasayllaje from BS Pharmacy 2A, and this ends my presentation on my term paper entitled The Essence of Call-Out Culture.